Welcome to Wavescan, the international DX program from Adventist World Radio. Researched and written by Adrian Peterson in Indianapolis and produced in WRMI Shortwave Studios in Miami. I'm Jeff White. Today on Wavescan, the 75th anniversary, All India Radio on Shortwave. Monitoring times to cease publication. Focus on Africa, Madagascar. And our Bangladesh DX report. On this occasion here at Wavescan, we salute All India Radio on the 75th anniversary of the inauguration of their first shortwave network. It was back in the year 1938 that 4 new shortwave transmitters were installed at key locations nearby to 4 major cities in India: Bombay, Delhi, Madras, and Calcutta. During the previous year, 1937, a new shortwave transmitter made by Philips in Holland, model KVFH and rated at 10 to 12 kilowatts, was installed and co-sited with the 1.5-year-old medium wave unit, VUD, on Mall Road in Delhi. At the time, the Delhi radio studios were located in a bungalow on Alipur Road. Apparently, this new shortwave transmitter in Delhi was accorded demonstration status. The first of these new 1938 10-kilowatt transmitters, Philips KVFH, was inaugurated in Bombay as VUB2 on February 4th. This new shortwave unit was co-sited with their 11-year-old medium-wave transmitter, VUB, at Malad, an outer suburban area between the airport and the ocean. At the time, the Bombay studios were located on Queens Road. The second new 10-kilowatt shortwave transmitter for the year 1938 was installed at Avadi in suburban Madras, with the studios at Mylapore, a suburb that is associated with the history of St. Thomas of ancient Bible times. Both the medium-wave unit, VUM, at 1/4 kilowatt, and the shortwave, VUM2, were inaugurated on the same day, June 16th. The third of these new 10-kilowatt shortwave stations was installed in Calcutta, with the 11-year-old medium-wave station, VUC. Shortwave VUC2 was taken into service on August 16th. It should also be mentioned that an additional 5-kilowatt shortwave transmitter was installed at Delhi, and this was inaugurated on June 1st. Each of the 4 transmitters in this new shortwave network relayed the programming from its parent medium-wave station, and each was intended to increase the service area beyond the regular coverage of the medium-wave unit. However, these shortwave transmitters also enabled the major radio stations of All India Radio to take a relay of important programming from each other. The first of these mutual intercity relays by shortwave took place between Delhi and Bombay early in the new year, 1939, on January 18th, though the procedure was soon expanded to encompass programming from other stations throughout India also. That early shortwave network in India was established exactly 75 years ago. Since then, Bombay has become Mumbai, Madras has become Chennai, Calcutta has become Kolkata, and program distribution is by satellite.
We are now concluding this transmission from the General Overseas Service of All India Radio. Listeners in Australia and New Zealand can join us again at 15:30 hours IST, that is 10 hours UTC, on 13,710 kilohertz on the 22 meter band, 17,510 and 17,895 kilohertz on the 16 meter band. Our listeners in West Europe and the United Kingdom can join us again at 23:15 hours IST, that is 17:45 hours UTC, on 7,550 kilohertz on the 41 meter band, 9,950 kilohertz on the 31 meter band, and 11,670 kilohertz on the 25 meter band. Until then, thank you for joining us. Goodbye. Jai Hind.
You're listening to Wavescan from Adventist World Radio. Send your comments and reception reports to Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229 in the United States. That's Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229 in the USA. or you can email us at wavescan@awr.org. Our email once again, wavescan@awr.org.
Many of you who are shortwave listeners are familiar with the U.S. magazine Monitoring Times, which covers various aspects of radio listening, including shortwave. For years, it's been a principal source of information for shortwave listeners, especially in North America. And you may have seen articles there authored by our Wavescan editor, Adrian Peterson, or maybe even yours truly. Well, Ken Reitz, the features editor and managing editor of Monitoring Times, sent us a statement from Monitoring Times publisher Bob Grove issued on July 25th. He said in part, "After 33 years of publishing the most informative and lauded magazine on monitoring the radio spectrum, Judy and I are finally going to retire. While we know the discontinuation of MT with our December issue will be a disappointment to our readers and writers alike, we realize that a combination of a poorly performing economy as well as the ready availability of free listening and technical information on the Internet has reduced sales and subscriptions throughout the marketplace." Dave Zanto of Janesville, Wisconsin, sent us a link to a recent interview with Bob Grove on a program called Ham Radio Now, a talk show and documentary series about amateur radio, produced by Gary Pierce, KN4AQ. He spoke with Bob Grove about the origins of Monitoring Times and why it is ceasing publication.
I started the magazine as a result of requests from people who were buying our first product at Grove, which was the scanner beam. But as a result of putting out essentially a catalog back then with some products on it, I always put little snippets of information to assist people in making the right decisions about product buying. And they said, "Bob, this is great. Why don't you put this out in a more functional periodic format?" And so Monitoring Times was born. It was originally in a newspaper, newsprint format, and that went on for a few years until we thought, hey, a color cover would be a good idea, so we went slick and put it down into the magazine style, and that's been going on now for 33 years.
So that's a long term for a magazine. But now as we look at your website, and I try to control Wirecast, I see it's time for us to retire. After 33 years of service to the radio community, Monitoring Times will cease publication with the December 2013 issue. All kinds of questions come up about that. I guess the first one would be, why?
As a matter of fact, my wife and I announced to our neighbors, our friends, and our families that we had retired some years ago. It's just that we didn't really do that. And I'm 75. I'll be 76 on my next birthday in February. And actually, I feel well. I'm in extremely good health, especially for 75 years of age. And so I really kind of had a decision. Do I want to spend the next few years still writing Monitoring Times, still going to the office? The answer to that is, I don't think so. Now, so far as why cut it off rather than just put it into the hands of capable people, there are two things behind this. Number one, if we turn over either Grove Enterprises, our dealership aspect, or Monitoring Times to someone else, now we have no control, quite honestly, over my legacy. That's the privacy part of it. So that is the primary reason. Now, from a standpoint of why are we terminating at this point, the reason is the market itself is not what it used to be, of course. We know that the print medium has gone downhill considerably in every imaginable aspect, in every venue. We've all seen the magazines going down in their print form because of the vast availability of information at your fingertips right on the computer that you're facing right now. And so we see this, we pay respect to it, we say, yes, that's the future.
Bob Grove, publisher of Monitoring Times magazine, which is ceasing publication with the December 2013 issue. He was speaking there with Gary Pierce on a program called Ham Radio Now. You can watch the full 1-hour interview on the Internet at hamradionow.tv. Look for episode 89, entitled Goodbye Monitoring Times. There is some good news to report, however. Wolfgang Bushel, in his Worldwide DX Club Top News, forwards an item from Mike Terry in the UK, which originated with Glenn Hauser's DX Listening Digest. Monitoring Times columnist Gail Van Horn has written in her shortwave blog, after 25 years this month writing the QSL Report column and 20 years as the frequency manager of Monitoring Times, I have no plans to set aside my dedication to the radio hobby or to the friends I have established during this time period. Larry Van Horn and I are working on some very interesting publication projects, not only for the military monitoring community worldwide, but I have some things in the works for the shortwave broadcast listening community as well. So please stay tuned to this blog for announcements in the coming months. I will continue to post on this blog timely shortwave material. And Gail's shortwave blog can be found on the internet at mt-shortwave.blogspot.in. That's mt-shortwave.blogspot.in. Wavescan presents Focus on Africa, a year-long series of reports about shortwave broadcasting and listening on the African continent. Presidential elections are scheduled for next Friday, August 23rd, in the island nation of Madagascar, off the southeast coast of Africa. That is, if they aren't postponed again, as they have been several times. Well, those elections could affect shortwave broadcasting on the island, at least for one station. Madagascar World Voice is a project of World Christian Broadcasting, which is based in Tennessee in the United States and also operates shortwave station KNLS in Alaska. Charles Caudill, president of World Christian Broadcasting, gave an update on their Madagascar project at the 2013 meeting recently of the National Association of Shortwave Broadcasters.
One of the most often questions we receive at World Christian Broadcasting is, how are things in Madagascar? And they're not good. Jeff, I'm glad you didn't ask me to give you a progress report, because there is no progress. So you used the proper word, update. So we're glad to give an update. We're still where we were the last time we gave a report. As a matter of fact, we're waiting for a guy to sign a paper. The station's built. All the buildings are complete. The 3 antennas are up. The 3 transmitters are packed in shipping containers and sitting on the dock, or in a warehouse on the dock in Houston, Texas, ready to travel on the ocean for a couple of months to get to Madagascar. build a fire break around the entire national forest, and we continue to maintain that for them. We also provide clothing for the children in the school there, and this year we started helping pay for the salaries for the teachers. Early in March this year, we sponsored a medical mission team to the Majunga area. We had a lot of volunteers, medical professionals. A team of 52 healthcare workers allowed us to run 2 clinics. We were able to see in the 4 days that they worked more than 1,000 patients. Pharmacists filled over 4,000 prescriptions. And unfortunately, there was only one dentist in the group, and he was the busiest guy there. He can't tell you how many teeth he extracted. He came home worn out. The team came from France, Mauritius, Switzerland, Italy, Congo, Canada, Cambodia, and of course the U.S. As you can imagine, we received quite a bit of good publicity from that. And in addition to the much good that was done, the publicity, quite frankly, was something we were looking for. One hopeful thing is an election is scheduled. There's one not so good thing. The election will be a long, drawn-out affair. The main reason for it being a long, drawn-out affair is that there will be 41 candidates for the presidency. We very strongly believe the Lord wants this station on the air, so we continue to wait. There is a good chance that if the election does take place, that by September or October, the new administration will be in place, and we can start moving stuff toward Majunga.
That was Charles Coyle, president of World Christian Broadcasting, with the latest news about shortwave station Madagascar World Voice. Well, in Africa, Adventist World Radio is operating a total of 14 FM radio stations in 10 different countries, each of which is on the air 24 hours daily. For those of our listeners living in nearby areas in Africa, you have 3 stations in 3 different countries from which to choose, and they are on the air 24 hours daily. In Monrovia, Liberia, there's a station in the Bassa language on 93.7 FM. In Blantyre, Malawi, the station is in the Chichewa and English languages on 90.8 FM. And in Kigali, Rwanda, a station in Kinyarwanda on 106.4 FM. Now let's go to Bangladesh. Here's Salahuddin Dolar with his monthly DX report.
Dear listeners and radio hobbyists, welcome you in the August edition of Bangladesh DX report in Wavescan. I am your friend Salahuddin Dolar from beautiful city Rajshahi, Bangladesh. Glad to be back and thanks for listening. Let's start. Reception log. 26th July. All India Radio All at 0240 to 0245 UTC on 5050 kHz. The SI code was 333. August 1st. Radio Veritas Asia in Bangla at 1400 UTC on 11870 kHz. The SI code was 444. August 2nd. Trans World Radio in Bhojpuri at 00150 UTC on 11600 kHz. The SI code was 333. BBC in Hindi at 0100 UTC on 11955 kHz. The SI code was 555. August 3rd. China Radio International in Bangla at 1300 UTC on 9490 kHz. The SI code was 454. KBS World Radio at 1400 to 1500 UTC on 9640 kHz, the SIO code was 333. August 4th, BBC Bangla Sunday special transmission at 1400 UTC on 9410 kHz, the SIO code was 444. Radio Australia in English at 2320 UTC on 9855 kHz, the SIO code was 333. August 5th, Radio Thailand World Service at 1300 UTC on 9795 kHz, the SIO code was 333. Deutsche Welle in Dari at 1330 UTC on 15595 kHz, the SIO code was 433. August 6th, Radio Japan in English at 1400 UTC on 11705 kHz, the SIO code was 333. All India Radio in English at 1440 UTC on 9690 kHz, the SIO code was 333. August 7th, Radio Nepal Domestic Service at 1500 UTC on medium wave 7920 kHz, the SIO code was 333. August 8th, China Radio International in Filipino at 1430 UTC on 11695 kHz, the SIO code was 444. August 9th, Radio Saudi Arabia in Bangla at 1230 UTC on 15120 kHz, the SIO code was 322. August 10, China Radio International in English at 1500 UTC on 9800 kHz, the SIO code was 555. August 11, Radio Santec in English at 1600 UTC on 15190 kHz, the SIO code was 444. Bangladesh DXT will issue a QSL card for the reception report. Please send your reception report for EQSL to the following address: dxbangla@gmail.com. dxbangla@gmail.com. Okay, I will come with more DX news in the next edition. Till then, take care. Salahuddin Dollar, Rajshahi, Bangladesh.
And now from the Ital Radio News Desk in Florence, here's European Perspective, a monthly feature about international broadcasting from the Old Continent, written for Wavescan by Luigi Cubisi. In my last report, says Luigi, I commented on some very bad news from Greece. Public broadcaster ERT was abruptly closed down at 21 UTC, midnight local time, on Tuesday, June 11th. All radio and TV channels, including FM, medium, and shortwave, as well as satellite programs, seemed to be silenced. But something happened the following weeks when some stations went on broadcasting as protests broke out everywhere. Days after that, the Greek government confirmed they were working to build a new public broadcasting company, and on July 21st, all FM and medium wave stations resumed broadcasts, at least transmitting the typical sheep bell-sounding interval signal. German DXer Udo Isanko wrote from northern Greece that he was finally listening to medium wave 729, 1008, 1260, 1404, and 1512 kilohertz. We all hope they'll keep broadcasting for a long time to come. Also from Germany, I received a link to the German National Geographic Service, allowing me to get a map of broadcasting tower locations in that country. Starting in the 1960s, towers were built in major cities to cover wider areas with FM and TV. Many of those towers are taller than 200 meters, about 650 feet. These are shown on the map and are the objective of tourists for finding unusual views over towns and environment. I personally visited at least 4, in Cologne, Munich, Stuttgart, and Berlin, also enjoying a stop at the restaurant on the highest platform. Some visitors' platforms rotate to allow a really special view. They're also very good places to switch your radio on and get some far signals, especially on the FM band. By the way, rotating restaurants are not unusual in Europe. The tiniest may be at the 11th floor of a building in Tirana, Albania. Houses around are normally not so high, and you can get a special view at only 110 feet. On July 1st, the European Union got its 28th member, Croatia, in southeast Europe. Croats arrived in the area of present-day Croatia during the early part of the 7th century A.D., and during their long history, they've been part of other countries for most of the time, finally gaining independence in 1991. Listeners in other regions of the old continent can tune in their medium-wave 600-kilowatt transmitter on 1134 kilohertz from 1700 to 2345 UTC, broadcasting the Voice of Croatia program. English news is scheduled at 1700, 1905, and 2315 hours UTC. And that's all from Florence this month. If you wish to be informed on what's going on in the Italian and European international broadcasting scene, please check out our website, www.italradio, that's italradio.org. You can also find a portale, or a web portal, with current news in English, too. Thanks to Luigi Cobisi for that report. And we end today's Wavescan with some Hindustani classical vocal music, Bindo Malik, which comes to us from All India Radio. Thanks for listening to Wavescan, the International DX program from Adventist World Radio, researched and written by Dr. Adrian Peterson in Indianapolis. Next week on Wavescan, radio broadcasting on the island of Cyprus, the early years, and our Australian DX report. If you'd like a Wavescan QSL card, you can send your reception reports to Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229, USA. That's Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229, USA. You can email us with your comments and suggestions to wavescan@awr.org. That's wavescan@awr.org. I'm Jeff White at WRMI in Miami. Till next week, good listening.
Good.